Hey, everybody, Brad Stevens here. Looking forward to my next mentor session. Sorry I missed December. Things are a little nuts. Pleased to share from a growth standpoint, we actually hit 210 employees. That puts us at that mark in just 18 months with our company. So a little crazy time during December, but glad to be back here in January. So for those who haven't had a chance to meet, my name is Brad Stevens, founder and CEO of Outsource Access. We provide um, vetted and trained virtual staff out of the Philippines for business owners and entrepreneurs of all different industries and sizes throughout the world, mainly in the U.S., but a lot internationally as well. And been a lifetime entrepreneur for the last 20 years. I got a chance to meet Sean and learn about AO last year, and just can't say enough about the community, the organization, and I love opportunity to do these mentor sessions and offer some experience share that can hopefully be helpful for those of you that are just trying to get a business off the ground, or maybe you're already underway and looking how to accelerate. I live and breathe this, every day. In my own business and all the clients that we work with, I mean, it's all about automating and delegating. I do a lot of speaking on this subject matter. The title of it's actually redefining how work gets done, how to automate and delegate with outsourcing, virtual assistants, and easy tech tools. So all about efficiency and redefining how people scale and grow, particularly in the small and medium business arena. So I will jump right in for the next set of questions here. I think we got 4 or 5 questions I'll be diving into, and hope it'll be very helpful in offering some insight on each of these topics. So first question submitted by Law Jackson. Question is, how can I balance prospecting, finding new clients while fulfilling the work and also trying to build a team? In his business, I'm really having a challenge keeping a sales pipeline going while fulfilling projects for clients and managing a few freelancers that help. Thanks to 8 months of mentorship, I have a basic sales process, a short list of vendors, and a project manager in training. How do I set up processes to handle all of this? I want to grow, but I just can't figure out how to get over this hump and grow. So, and Kinetic Text is the name of his company. So, Law, something I always share that we do when we work with clients, and I've always done in my own business, is really just look at, before you go any further, just take a time to pause and look at 2 buckets. One is, what are you doing that isn't necessarily the best and highest use of your time? And I challenge you, and if you have staff, it sounds like you got just a few freelancers. It sounds like it'll primarily be you, but what isn't the best use of your time? And literally log the number of hours you're spending on those activities per month, and you'd be amazed at kind of how it adds up. Just from the highest and best use of what you love doing and what adds the most value to the company. What are the things that don't fall in that category? And then estimate the number of hours per month you're spending on them. And then secondly, what are the things on the radar that you want to be getting to grow in the business, but you haven't gotten to yet, that are either time, money, or knowledge constraints? And I tell you, take time to do a real deep brain dump in both those categories. And it can really help with first just orienting where is there some low-hanging fruit and things that you can automate or potentially outsource. And I can speak to that because that's part I'm in every single day, to help you balance and to scale, to get out of the weeds and to do more automating and delegating in certain areas of the business. So that's one part as far as the specific, and I'll share a couple of case studies that'll be helpful. Another thing is time blocking, as well. A lot of entrepreneurs and business owners and small businesses, the day just happens to them, right? They wake up and it's just they firefight and they plan on doing this and they never even get to it. And another day later, and they never gotten to it. And even with a larger business now, I still find myself struggling with that. But I've done time blocking where I take blocks on my calendar that blocked out. Nobody can have a call with me or book a call. That I'm specifically working on a key initiative that needs to be resolved to move the business forward, to get me out of something. Like right now, we're actually relaunching our podcast, and I'm working time on the workflows and processes with my team. And then once that's done, it'll be automated, and I can step out of it, right? But you got to create that block time on your schedule to focus on those activities. So literally for me, 8 to 12, Monday through Thursday, I've blocked off that are for 4 different key buckets that are critical in my business that I don't let other things squeeze out as much as I can. It's going to happen sometimes, but it really helps. And to your point about setting up processes for workflows, and once you kind of define things you want to get off your plate, I know Sean is a big fan, and we have a lot of clients that use Trainual. Great product to just help document processes. I mean, if nothing else, you can just start off with just doing some bullet points of workflows. And I'm a big fan. I always share about either using a tool called Loom or Screencast-O-Matic is another one that allows you to easily just record your screen, your voice, and your mouse, and you can save it as a video that you can then host on that platform, whether it's Trainual or a Google Doc that you're kind of logging. But it takes out a lot of the pain of having to do process documentation, of having to type out a bunch of bullet points. You can record your screen, your voice, and your mouse and explain how to do certain things, and then just share that video with somebody you want to help take it over. Another thing is just, you said you were mentioning, a lot of managing a lot of freelancers. One of the first things I did when it came to outsourcing, because I started there as well, I would have a lot of freelancers that I would have a person to do logos and a person to do data scraping and a person to do graphic design and a person that could do a brochure and somebody could video edit it, make whiteboard videos. And that's when I first learned about the whole VAs part of this whole gig economy. And I hired my first VA in the Philippines to kind of be a quarterback and to start managing all those freelancers for me. So she would do work directly for me and work directly with me on projects, but then she would kind of manage, and I'd say, hey, I need to get a video made. She'd go find that person and manage that outsourced resource. So you could look at bringing on a virtual staff, virtual assistant into your business. Whether you go on Fiverr or Upwork on a part-time basis. I mean, our model, we only do full-time with what we do, but it's a dedicated person working directly with you. And they can kind of manage those resources. For example, one of the things I love doing that I stopped because I didn't have a resource like that was, I'd go to the gym and I would listen to podcasts for 20 minutes, right? And I'm taking in that content. Why not take advantage of that time that I'm doing? I'm consuming a piece of content. Other people on social would love to know the takeaways instead of them having to listen to the 20 minutes I just listened to. So I would walk out of the gym and just pop my phone out and shoot a video and say, hey, I just listened to XYZ podcast. Here's the top 3 takeaways. Then finish the video, and then now it's like, well, how do I get it to my phone to upload it, to get all over social media channels? So that's one of the things that I had a VA quarterback with, right? So as soon as I would record it, Jay Sell, who's my very first VA, I would use a tool, an app called Vimeo that would allow me to upload it from my phone directly up to our Vimeo account. And she would get an email notification in the Philippines. She would download it, use a free tool called Headliner.app that would put captions on it, because most videos listen to without sound. And then use a tool called Buffer that's $10 a month that she could click a button and it would push it to all my social media channels. So that's just one example of using a VA and a combination of some tech tools to automate and create little micro protocols. The same thing, if you look at our website on outsourceaccess.com and you go click on 3D or location, physical location, I want to be the first company in the U.S. to have physical walk-in locations that people could come learn about outsourcing. But I want to get this idea out of my head, but I didn't want to take the time to go find somebody on Fiverr to do this 3D rendering. So using screencasting, I pulled up a co-working location and a couple of other types of buildings that I like the look of, recorded it, sent it to my VA and said, hey, go find somebody on Fiverr that can make a 3D rendering of this. And in 2 days and for like $38, got this unbelievable 3D rendering walk-in that people think I spent $5,000 on. That she found somebody in Eastern Europe on Fiverr that did it. So again, having her do quarterback work and manage the freelancers and the outsourcers. And like LinkedIn, that's another thing. I now actually have a full-time VA that does nothing, but a lot of what she does is manage nothing but my LinkedIn account, post content, post links and articles, being able to, again, have her work directly for me along with doing other projects. So hope that's helpful as kind of you're emerging out of that and trying to figure that balance is always a challenge between the two. Next question is from Aniza Fajardo. Question she asked, when first starting out with minimal clients and minimal budget, how would you start growing your email list to market to? And her business description is, I'm a financial coach selling to individuals who need financial education and planning. Aniza, the first thing that I share when you're trying to build an email list is, marketing these days is all about creating educational content. People are tired of getting pounded and cold called. I mean, it can still work, as long as the numbers and the math work out for you. But it's all about just putting content out there that's educational, it's specific, it's niche, that people want to engage, so that you're putting it out there and adding value. And if they see that you're a thought leader, an authority, pull them into your site, and then how do you can then pull them into opting in for email and then putting them into a nurture sequence. And I'll share a little bit about exactly how I do that. So if you're looking to grow, that would be one of the things that I would do. And the First thing is just creating educational content at scale. So before you can start getting people and driving people to give you their email address, you got to create those assets first, right? So first thing is, maybe off the top of your mind, if you reflect on all the conversations you've had with every client imaginable, and maybe even intentionally, the next client you talk to is just say, what are the top 3 things on your mind, that you're navigating related to financial, advisory, and see what they share. The second thing I always do is I just love to survey. Use SurveyMonkey. There's a free version of their tool. Create a short survey, make it super simple. Just say, hey, which of the following are on your top of mind for financial, advisory? Or what are the 3 biggest, roadblocks that you have to engaging someone for financial advisory? And I know for me, I'm actually going through this process now, and it's like I get the same vanilla responses every single time. Nobody has innovative ideas or creative approaches. It's the same thing they always share. But in any case, if you want to build, do a survey like that and send it out to all of your current customer base. I like to go into Facebook groups and into LinkedIn groups, and I would actually have a VA do this. You can do it directly. Create that survey and just say, hey, I'm looking to create kind of an educational guide on financial advisory. If you don't mind just quickly answering this, all I got to do is check boxes, right? And just have them put their name, their email address, and then maybe make a list of like 15 topics. And then always have an other, so they can write one custom in if they want to. And they can check all those boxes that they feel relevant. And just let them know, hey, if you fill it out, I'll give you a copy of once I create the content. Be happy to give you a free copy. I've done that so many times. And, there's so many Facebook groups that can be relevant for entrepreneurs, business owners, personal coaches, anybody who's your target market. Go and drop that in there and let them tell you. And it's interesting to see, there'll be about 10% that'll fill out that other category, right? And they will write a novel a lot of times. And you can see the exact vocabulary that they use and how they communicate. So do the discovery process. I mean, you may have some things in your mind, but I've always made this failure in the past, or I always think I know what my people, what my customers and people want to hear. And when I put that out there, I always get things back that I never thought of before. So use that as an approach to really get what the content should be, then create the content, right? And you can create educational content assets that can be used digitally, either writing blogs, writing short, ebooks and guides, and then just doing short little video snippets. And I do all, 3 of those. If you look on our site and look on my social media, a combination of them. And this is something you can absolutely use outsourced resources for. I mean, you can get somebody on Fiverr to do a 3D rendering of an ebook and a guide and do graphics for $20-$30. If you record videos, you can get them video edited and put logos and everything else in the front and the back. Very cheap and low cost. So creating those assets is very easy. And that's if you want to do the writing. You can also, there's a platform called writeraccess.com you can go to, and there's freelance writers. And even though obviously you're an expert where this stuff is concerned, it's always what bogs people down sometimes is the time to write that content. So I've done the same, and I started working with an outsourced writer. She gets to know my voice and what I'm about, and then she can crank out the content, does 85% of it, and then I just kind of do the final polish on it. So you can get all that outsourced. So you've got now these great assets. Maybe you've got an ebook or 2, and always use like numbers, like the top 3 things that everybody struggles with a financial advisor, right? Or top 5 things your financial advisor isn't telling you, right? Things that create intrigue and also know they're going to get specific takeaway items, and people just love lists and numbers, right? So I highly recommend to think about that from a title standpoint. And then, once you've got those assets, created, or short video snippets or whatever, based on kind of what your customers are telling you. The other thing I would consider, so that you can also take full advantage when someone does opt in with the email, which I'll talk about, is create at least a 5-part kind of email nurture sequence that you can send after someone opts in for that main asset, right? That educational guide, that video, whatever you're giving away, they opt in, give their email address, so that once that you send that to them, and so many people just send that one thing and then they just fall off the radar. So have something that you can send in an autoresponder, which hopefully you're familiar with, whether it's Constant Contact or MailChimp or what have you, that every 3 days you just send something that is building authority with them, right? Maybe sharing another video, another piece of content that is addressing them in that place where they are right now. I think the best marketing enters the conversation that's already happening in someone's mind. So hopefully from a lot of your conversations with prospects, what are the things that they've got and issues or concerns? I mean, in my business, if you go to outsourceaccess.com and you click on Get a Virtual Assistant, you'll see a video where I do exactly that. I've taken all the zillions of conversations I've had and all the speaking engagements, and I know exactly what are the DFCs, doubts, fears, and concerns that people have when it comes to outsourcing. And I nailed them in that video, and in the content that they get afterwards. And I hear so many times, people start watching like, Brad, I never thought I'd watch your video. I know you wanted me to watch it before the call, but it's like you were in my head answering and knocking down the dominoes. So think about that when you're creating that initial piece of content, and then create a 5-part nurture that's knocking down the DFCs, the doubt, fears, and concerns that people have to engage your industry, or you individually. But always have a call to action. Be education first in it, and then always have a call to action. And I highly recommend using an automatic link to let people, book with you, like Calendly. And that's one of the main ones we use. There's another one called Vitae and a few others. I just know Calendly because I use it all the time. It's the free version. There's a $10 a month. But down at the bottom, make it easy for them to click and book a call with you to learn more. And I practice what I preach. I literally do all this stuff. If you go to our website, you watch that video on that page I was talking about. And then right below that video is a link for them to book a call if their questions aren't answered. So right below the video, they can either click and purchase and start the process with us, which is a non-refundable kind of kickoff fee. A fully refundable kickoff fee. And then, or a link to book a call if they still have more questions. So there's a little backdrop of doing that, because a lot of people just start with just want to get emails, but then they don't build the right assets to kind of attract people and then to keep them in their nurture wheel. And then it just is not worth it. So now, as far as the email capture is using, I highly recommend, it's been very powerful on our website. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see a good example of that 20-part nurture sequence, if you go to outsourceaccess.com/help, you'll see one of the things we did when COVID hit is we made the small business survival guide to COVID. And so you go to that page, you put your name, your email, and then it'll start you on a 20-part, very specific nurture sequence, 2 days apart. You can save all those emails if you want, and even just copy our format, because we do that exact thing I was talking about. Authority build, educate, articles, FAQs, case studies. We deliver it in a very specific kind of way. Now, as far as capturing those emails, once you post and get people to your site, using the blogs, using the videos, we use a tool called sumo.com. There's another one called Opt-in Monster that a lot of you have seen the little pop-ups, once somebody's on your site. Let's say that, during that process, you create a blog, right? And you write that blog and you go on LinkedIn and you post and share that content. It drives somebody back to your site. Now they're on your site. Once they're there for 30 seconds, right? And this is what happens on our site. If somebody never visited, they go there after 30 seconds. There's a thing called a welcome mat, and it shuts down the entire screen, right? And it may seem like it's more annoying, but we get 4 to 5x conversion rate on this than when people just have this little pop-up that comes up in the middle that's like, subscribe to our newsletter. Well, A, I don't care a lot. I don't know what your newsletter is or if I want to subscribe to it. I don't have a specific what's in it for me, a whiff them. And it's just this little annoying pop-up that we all just are familiar with. It's called a welcome mat with the Sumo. That's an option that it shuts down, it rolls down the screen, and we have a very specific survival guide to COVID-19 and 3 bullet points of what they can expect to take away from it, and nothing but an email address. And they can hit no thanks if they want, and it'll roll it right back up. And it just captures emails so much better. So once you create those assets and you start deploying them and driving people to your site, opting in for guides and newspapers and or ebooks, that's a great tool to use for actually capturing those emails. And once they capture it, so we use Infusionsoft, our marketing automation tool. They enter their email, we send them the guide, and then we start them on that nurture sequence after that with additional content to keep them on that nurture wheel with the call to action underneath. LinkedIn is another great place too to post all your content once you create those assets to drive people back to your site and then have them opt in. There's a tool called linkedhelper.com that will actually do automated LinkedIn engagements and connections for you. But it's another great place to deploy that content. And these are all non-paid, right? Assuming you want to try some growth hack strategies. And again, if you're interested, you can have a virtual assistant do all this stuff for you. You just kind of provide the initial strategy and approach, and then they can execute all of it. But Facebook ads is obviously another place that you can go. If you create a really good opt-in guide that hits your target audience, try some money on Facebook ads and drive them to that page and have them opt in is another approach to it. But there's a lot of kind of backdrop in this process before you just start collecting email addresses, because you want to add value to people once you do collect emails, because you spend that hard effort to get them to give you your email address. You don't want to lose them. So create the content. Next question, submitter is Demarius Tukes. After you set a larger goal and you know it takes time to achieve, how do you stay focused along the way? In his business description, he said he doesn't have a business yet, but I'm working towards saving to get it started. $10,000 by June 1st, so I can have capital when I do. I'm asking this question because sometimes I feel lost and I do not know who I am or what I want in life. It could be I'm not sure how to express myself or what I've done. Well, I'm working to save money. How do I not get lost in the process? And when you're young like me and don't know your purpose in life, how do you find it, and what do you do in the meantime? Well, every entrepreneur in some sense starts in that place, figuring out what direction, which path. I know for me, over the last 20 years, I've built and started many companies, and some I wasn't incredibly passionate about the subject matter. I love building the business, but everything was educational and added value in my collective experience that has all led to where I'm at today. The ability to launch a company and grow to 210 employees in 18 months on the other side of the globe. It's been all based on those building blocks of learning and taking those experiences and building on them, from the failures, from the successes, and so forth, through the years. So you're young, and just know that you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to misstep. I know it's very cliche, but it just is. Default to action. Be in the arena, as the old quote is from Theodore Roosevelt. It's one of my favorite speeches of all time, is the man in the arena. Who you don't want to be among those timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. You just got to get in the arena and be able to engage the process. So a few books I'd recommend, and I know one's come up quite a bit as well, as for people just starting out. It's called The E-Myth. It's a great one that just clarifies people as they're entering into entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurial path. Really looking at what they're really good at, and ultimately how to transition from working on the business, in the business, versus on it. It's kind of will paint a good path for you and avoid some traps to fall into as you evolve. And as far as your goals, or as far as your why, I mean, obviously, I'm sure you've heard of Simon Sinek and why. I know it's a one that's repeated a lot, but really is. Go through that, look him up on YouTube, go through that process. And it'll be something that evolves for you. And as you get older, and if you get a family, I mean, I'm 42 now, and my why and kind of where I was when in my 20s is kind of evolved a bit. So you have to kind of revisit it. And when it comes to defining your goals, something I'm very fond of is a process called 4 Disciplines of Execution. And in the approach of creating goals is create a 90-day goal, which is very common among a lot of processes. Choose 90 days. It's a good time frame. But the other thing is create 5 chronological steps to get to that goal, right? So if you said, you want to work towards saving $10,000 by June 1st, well, if that's 90 days out, right? Or that's 6 months out now for where you are right now. But break it into 2 90-day segments, and then come up with 5 chronological steps of what it takes to make that happen. And each week, score yourself of where you are on a 1 through 5 towards making it. So if it's, if you're wanting to, for example, if we want to launch and launch a brand new website in 90 days, right? Well, what needs to happen? And what happens is people come up with goals, but they don't break it down into smaller pieces, and they just procrastinate, and they never just get it because they see the elephant, right? They don't do the small bites. So if it's, I want to launch a new website for my business in 90 days by this time frame. Okay, well, what's the first step? Well, first of all, I need to research all my competitors, right? That's step 1. Research all my competitors and take screenshots and get ideas. Okay, that's step 1. Step 2, after analyzing all the competitors, take the best designs and come up with an initial wireframe concept. That's step 2. Step 3 is, once I've done that, then go post on Fiverr or Upwork, or use an outsourcing firm like kind of like what we do or otherwise, who can give me quotes for for building it and do quotes, right? Then 4, choose one, engage, and get it built. And 5 is deploy it. So that breaks it into small pieces. So as you're trying to accomplish that big chew the whole elephant goal in 90 days of launching a new website, each week you say, where am I at? Well, I'm at a 1. Okay. Well, in week 2, you may still be at a 1. Maybe you're still doing your research. But then where are week 3? Well, finally I'm past a 1, so now I'm at step 2, right? And it lets you just see visual progress, and you get to break it into smaller bite size. And by forcing yourself to think through the 5 smaller pieces to get there, it will also help shape your path to achieving that goal, right? So highly recommend that. I've done that in all my businesses and the organization I'm president of with 30 board members right now. It's what we've done, especially leading an organization in the middle of COVID, is everybody breaks it down into 5 steps. When we meet, each week or every couple of weeks, we pull it up and it says, all right, where are you on your 1 through 5 in that process? So it's a great way to kind of break those goals down to smaller pieces so that it feels more attainable. Next question is Kyle Stroud. Question is, I'm looking to hire someone to monitor inventory levels and make purchasing decisions. Should I use cheap out-of-country employees, friends, family, job search sites, etc.? Business description is, I'm an Amazon seller. I purchase products at wholesale prices and ship the products to Amazon warehouses, which then fulfill orders to my customers. After speaking to Sean, I know that I need to hire people to do the work that I don't enjoy. Inventory needs to be monitored daily, and the employee will need to use tools in my past sales performance on these products to make an educated guess on how many units to be purchased. This is a crucial part of the business. If I have no inventory in stock, I can't make money. So first thing I would say, and I'm sure you've probably read this, but if you have not by chance for some reason, is Basenomics. In the whole Amazon world, we're actually reading that together in another business mastermind that I'm in, and it's just incredibly eye-opening. It's all about Bezos and Amazon and how they built their flywheel and what they're doing and how they're expanding, and also kind of a word to the wise on some of the sellers that you may or may not impact depending on what you're selling. So check that out, Basenomics.com. I would definitely dive into. As far as this, this is something actually we have a lot of experience. This is an area we work with a lot of e-commerce companies. There's been a ton of growth during COVID who hire VAs with us that they're doing customer service, they're managing chat, they're doing order processing, logistics, inventory research, product research, managing customer complaints, all kinds of stuff. All of that administrative operational clutter, right, that tends to happen. And it can all be done virtually, with an e-commerce, business. So it's absolutely something, just to answer your question. If you vet properly, you can get competent people. And so part of the failure point I find, and what I found myself in outsourcing before I started my own company, is that a lot of companies just they don't pay people well, they don't treat them well, and so therefore you get very high turnover and a bad experience. And so if you vet people properly, and I'm happy to share, I'll post a link in the post here, a page where I've got a bunch of tools and resources of the exact kind of assessments we put VAs through. When we go to hire someone in the Philippines before they come, because they can become a full employee of ours before we provide them to a client. Is we do IQ testing, emotional intelligence testing, their project management capability, their typing proficiency, project management, to kind of get a feel of their kind of capability, because we want people that are fast learners, great communicators, can take feedback, and are a good fit with our culture. So a lot of people just don't put the right kind of effort and due diligence in with this process. So if you work with a managed service like us, that's kind of part of what you should expect from them, is to do this kind of a vetting process for you. You pay a little bit more than you're going to pay than hiring someone direct through a job board, but you get that vetting process, and then they're managed as well. And I would recommend asking if a firm has managers. Like we have 30 managers and a manager over all the VAs to make sure that the quality and experience is there. But if you're hiring through kind of a job board or what have you, you can absolutely find great folks. Just put them through those assessments to make sure that they're a good fit in what you're looking for. So many people just post on Fiverr and they want somebody to do something, and then they don't have a good experience, and they're like, it's just a bad experience, and they write the whole thing off. Not the case. Just like even domestically, if you go hire someone and you don't do a good job of vetting them appropriately, you're going to have the same experience. So had a lot of experience with that in that space. You can absolutely find it. You just got to vet them properly. Our next question is from Zach Knock. He asks, how do you avoid entrepreneurial burnout, and what are some things I can do to change up my duties from day to day? His business is, I own a security company. We specialize in working with access control cameras and security systems for both commercial and residential applications. I'm feeling slight burnout from all the tasks I have to do throughout the day and the week: sales, invoicing, weekly expense reviews, meetings, installation of projects, and service. I have a morning meditation I do to try and get my mind in the right place, as well as mountain bike riding. It seems as if I have a robot brain or something. I want every day to be my honeymoon. Haha, I appreciate the time answering this question. Uh, when you're building a company, regardless, you're going to have burnout. It's just going to be a part of the journey. It's just going to happen. The question is how quickly do you get yourself out of it? And I'll just talk a little bit about that. It's entrepreneurship. There's this great chart that talks about the journey of the entrepreneur, right? And it's amazing, then it sucks. It's amazing, it sucks. Why did I do this? This is the best thing I've ever done, right? It's kind of this path till ultimately you have enough of those that you're learning along the way, and then you kind of emerge out and you break loose and you have kind of that inflection point and you really find success and scale. But there's most entrepreneurs, and this is the reason why only 4% of companies are over $1 million. It's just they never emerge to that mentality of growth and scale, right? And to be honest, I feel that it's almost a chemical. We all have cortisol that kind of runs through your body, right? And entrepreneurs probably have a high rate. It's that chemical your body dumps in that fight or flight stage when you're dealing with stress, intensity. And to be honest, it's almost like it kind of drives grooves in your system and you get kind of used to it. And it feels weird to depart and to have more peace and to delegate. It's like, you just get defaulted back into just being in the grind and a hamster wheel. So you just got to make that commitment ultimately to emerge yourself out of that and to really want to scale, bring resources in that can support you. Blocking your time, throughout the week, not allowing yourself to the day to happen to you, but you to happen to the day. I mean, to a certain extent, you can't help certain emergencies and things that happen, but try to block out, even if it's super early. I mean, I get up at 5:30 in the morning, and that's some of my most productive time before the rest of the world is up, so I can focus and nothing can distract me or interrupt me. But blocking multiple times a week, 3 to 4 hour blocks to work on key things to move the business forward. That's different than the whirlwind, right? The whirlwind is kind of the stuff that happens to you that you got to keep the lights on in the business. The critical goals to move the company forward are things you got to procure time for to focus on. And ultimately, it's about, and I find most companies get to really scale when the owner is getting out of the things that they hate doing and can wake up every day and their feet hit the ground doing the stuff that they love in the business. Because that's when they get more passionate and they soar, right? And I've experienced it myself, and that's part of when we got the full operational infrastructure in with our company and all of our managers and architecture, and I could focus on being the visionary and driving our business forward and strategy and doing speaking and engagements and so forth. That's when we really, really kind of took off. Because it's about getting to your highest and best use of time. And if every day you're waking up having to do that stuff you hate doing, you're never going to have the extra gas in the tank to push it to the next level. And part of it is a lot of people just struggle. And I did the same thing in my 20s was, well, it's just I can't hire somebody, right? Because I need to do that. It'll cost me X amount of dollars. Well, first of all, again, explore the outsourcing path. There's tons of ways and competent people that can do different things in the business. I mean, in our business, we have VAs doing, QuickBooks and, marketing automation tools and operations and logistics. And there's smart, bright people that can take things on and be very affordable. You can get, like our model, we're $16.95 a month. We charge basically $1,700 for a full-time, employee to engage in your business or full-time staff support resource. But if you go hire directly off some of these job platforms and you're only looking for part-time and hourly, you can find people for $3, $4, $5 an hour in some of these countries that have really good competency. But that's a very good living for them, but also more affordable for you. But look at it in terms of whether you hire domestic or offshores, what is the value of your time back? I mean, it's a matter of what is the average value of a client for you, right? And a lot of owners are in the sales space. So you've looked at what's the average value of a client. And let's say, for example, that an average client value is worth $1,000, right? And how long does it take you collective time to ultimately land that client? Let's say it's 3 hours, right? Well, if you were to make that list of all the things you're doing that aren't the best use of your time, and let's say you're spending 12 hours a month on just administrative, invoicing, sales stuff where you could have been out closing, right? If it's 12 hours, you could have closed, 4 more deals, right? That's $4,000. So basically spending that 12 hours doing all administrative stuff cost you $4,000. And think about everything through that lens of opportunity cost. And it's like, okay, if I could go hire someone for $1,500 or $1,000 or $2,000, right? And I can bring in $4,000, again, depending on what your profit margins are, is there an ROI there? So kind of think of things through that lens and opportunity cost as you look at how you're going to divide your time going forward. Next question is from Bob Giguere. Hope I said that correct. Question he asked, how big of a role did private mentors, coaches, and attending networking events help with your business growth or entrepreneurial growth? Business description, I am new to mentoring and coaching and want to know how it has helped you and things I can do to get the most out of this as I look to grow as an entrepreneur. And I could say very unequivocally, it's had a huge, impact, particularly when I look at the inflection of my business and my growth since really kind of engaging, getting more mentors in a network of relationships I could lean on in the entrepreneurial community. During my 20s, I had business partners in my companies, and that's really kind of all that I connected with. I didn't have a community outside of my business partner, and so I had a very limited scope to address our challenges. It was just the two of us, and he also had a limited skill set in certain areas because he had strengths and more in sales and marketing stuff. So I would just find myself banging my head against the wall trying to solve an issue, or just the two of us trying to resolve it. So it has played a huge factor in getting mentors, getting people in. And I don't know if it's part of just aging and maturing, but you just don't want to bang your head against the wall, right? If there's somebody that's figured something out, I'm the first. They joke around, men don't ever want to stop for directions. They want to figure things out. I am the first to pull over at a gas station and say, where do I go? What should I be doing differently? Because I just don't have time for that. I want to get to the solution, sooner. So very, very valuable. And there's two aspects to it. One is just the knowledge that you can gather from mentors and from coaches, things they can share in terms of, their experience. So they can share from experience of things that either maybe directly or indirectly related to your situation, and advice. If you want and are open to advice, I like people to share from experience, but if they don't have an experience, if I value their opinion, love for them to look at the context and give me their feedback. That could be helpful. But the second thing is just having a community and common ground. It can be a challenging road as an entrepreneur, and knowing that other people are sharing your pain, and can be camaraderie and support, just like you guys do all these Flex Friday posts, which are fantastic. It's just there with others to kind of just spur you on, and when you're down, to kind of lift you up and to drive things forward, which is really valuable. So highly recommended, and to get the most out of it, is to be committed to the process. If you're gonna be involved in an organization, I joined Entrepreneurs Organization, which is a big organization similar to kind of AO. I'm actually the president of our chapter here in Atlanta this year. Been in the organization 8 years, and I have a monthly forum. And I think within AO, it's starting to be shaped up as well, where we meet every single month for 4 hours, and we do nothing but just work and help solve each other's challenges in our business. Not in conflicting industries. We're all in different industries, so it's good to get perspective from other people that aren't as close to it as I am. And then if you're doing one-on-one mentoring and coaching, it's just about what you get in, you get out what you put in, as the old cliche is. And it's being intentional, coming with good questions, and even sending ahead of time, being agenda driven in your meetings. So it's got time blocked so that you're very efficient with your time to make sure that it's super valuable and you're getting the most out of the experience for both of you. So that's what I would vet people that are a good fit for what you're looking for. And you may want to have both. Somebody that's in your industry that can speak to and knows your industry, and then maybe somebody that is just a very successful entrepreneur, business person in a separate industry entirely, because sometimes it's good to let them look at it from a whole other angle, because they're not in the trees like other people in your industry are, and can maybe see another answer that could be there that others may miss. So that wraps up our mentor session here today, and the questions. Hopefully it was all full. I know it's a brain dump of all kinds of different angles and approaches, but hopefully these experiences shares were valuable. And again, Brad Stevens, founder and CEO of Outsource Access. You can visit at outsourceaccess.com if you want to check out more about us. And if you go on there, as I've mentioned, there's an opt-in. You can opt into kind of some of our educational content and guides. And happy to share that with you. We have a weekly addictive tool series. We send you one cool automation tech tool once a week that you'll find on there as well. But love these sessions, and hopefully it's been helpful. Take care.